I'm ready to go before I hit record. There we go.
Oh, no, that's okay. Hey, everyone. Oh my gosh. Like I am so excited to be with this next guest. I am stoked. In fact, I think she feels the same way because she's like, you're going to record this, right? Like, you're not going to forget, you're going to record this, right? Like, you're not going to forget, you're going to record this, right? I am so stoked. This beautiful soul, this Mystic Rainn, was brought into my awareness not too long ago. And from the moment I saw your beautiful face and your energy, I was like, she's my best friend. She's gonna be my best friend. She doesn't know it yet, but she's gonna be my best friend. Like, we're gonna be like forever. And I'm really excited about our exchange, our connection, and the energy that we kind of bring in and meld together. It's so good, and it is going to be very powerful for our viewers. So before I go into anything, I really want you to take an opportunity to share who you are and all of your beautiful essence with my
viewers. Yes. So I'm Mystic Rainn, and that's it. I feel so overwhelmed by how kind you are with your words and beautiful essence or whatever. But honestly, who I am is just some random person bumbling down the street like the rest of us, right? I kind of stumbled over into my spirituality like so many of us, and we're like, okay, I need a shift. I need a change. This way of life isn't working for me. I stumbled over here and that works for me, and it resonated, but I'm no different than anyone else. I'm just someone that at some point in time grew enough balls to call myself a psychic publicly. And that's really it.
That's so good. That is so good. And I think one of the things that captured me immediately with you was how very, very, very similar our stories were when it came to the spiritual journey, and how we literally, you couldn't have put it in better words, stumbled into it. And that ride that it really took us on to discovering more about like what we are, like, yes, who we are, but like what we are, and that beautiful, beautiful spirit in a body. And like you said, this journey that everyone else is on, that we are one in having, but very different and unique in experiencing. And that's a lot of what I wanted to talk with you about today. We have been talking on the podcast the last few weeks about personal power and really what it is and how people can cultivate it, how people need to know they already have it, really, that it's there, been there, don't need to work for it, don't need to earn it, don't need to you just show up. You are who you are, and who you are is beautiful. But on a spiritual path, on a spiritual journey, we both know there's going to come a time when we're going to have to face some stuff, and through facing it, as we term it healing, we expand exponentially. So tell me what your resonation is with personal power. What do you deem it to be?
I think personal power is self. I think it's profound and so simple, but I think the fact that it's so simple is what makes it so profound, in the sense that we spend our entire lives looking outside of self in order to find it, believing that we have to do something, we have to be worthy, that we have to prove something, right, to show that we're deserving, or that we've learned enough, or we did enough, or whatever, to be enough. And what I've realized is that I can't fault self for that, or anybody else, because it's something that's taught to you from the moment you come out of the womb, right? That power resides in somebody else, that somebody else makes the decisions for you. And even the way some faith is taught, right? It has evolved in a way where it's taught that the power resides in the person that's teaching you all the sacred text, right? That you can't have the power to learn the sacred text yourself. And so you see it kind of indoctrinated all throughout society. When you were a kid in school, you have to raise your hand if you have to go to the bathroom. And so as you're growing up, all of these things happen that strip you, or creates this illusion that you're being stripped of your personal power. When you come into adulthood, and now you want to exercise your speech or your own free will, it's challenging for a lot of people, because they think that they're going to get in trouble, or they're going to be punished, because they have had years and years and years of teaching that if you do what you're inclined to do at that moment, that is bad. And then now you're like, you wake up one day and nothing is working for you anymore. And it's requiring you to then exercise your will. And that will is your personal power. But people are for so long, they're not taught to do that. And so when you're assessing your personal power, is it assessing? Is it accessing?
I think it's both. No, you're getting it right. You're getting it. But I feel like you got two guides right now. Like one's in this ear, one's in that ear. So, accessing. Like you're assessing it for sure, but you have to access it. As you said, you have to access it before you can really assess it. 100%. You're there. You're there.
Right. And I'm so glad you picked up on that. There's a lot of people talking to me right now at the moment. And I'm just trying to get it.
It's like, listen, I'm the physical being having this experience.
Right.
Sit down.
Right. Because I can feel my mouth just trying, like it's moving faster than my brain can process at the moment. Right. But
I feel you.
Yes, but it's all of those things. And that's what makes it difficult for some people to get, because it's simple. When it's so simple, when you're like, wait a minute, power is just my own free will. It's something that's so simple that it can almost break the psyche, because you're taught not, and you're not taught any of that. You're not taught it in a household. You're not taught it in school. You're not taught it through your friend group. You're taught everything else. Your friends growing up are all also on this journey of having will and everything stripped from them. Right. And then, so no one is teaching each other that that's what it is. And the difficulty when you come into adulthood is that it then becomes your responsibility to take it back. And because we're taught that all these things reside outside of us, it's hard for us to then take accountability for self, because we feel that the accountability also comes outside of us, that there has to be somebody else outside of us, that then like makes this decision that we can be who we want to be or do what it is that we want to do. And we're waiting for permission. But people,
I just wrote that down.
We're together.
We are so waiting for permission. And to what you're saying, it's so spot on. We are taught from an early age, taught in parentheses, conditioned to show up and be a certain way, to act a certain way. And a lot of that is out of fear, not my fear, not your fear, not our friend's fear, out of, like you said, society's fear that, this is how you're supposed to conform, your parents' fear about this is how you're supposed to stay safe, right? Like this is how you stay safe out there in that world, or this is how you show up and get accepted out in that world. No one ever gave us permission when we were small, even in school, to be what and who we are already. I think as a parent, one of the things that's really important for me, conscious parenting, is to allow my children to have their voice. Yes, trust and belief. There's times when I'm like, where's the granola bar? I really got to give you something to eat because you got to stop talking. But it's about them being able to express themselves and then feel through that experience, because we're always going to say something that might hurt someone's feelings, or we might say, I wish I could have said that differently, but that's the learning process. I think the thing that sometimes we're robbed of is that learning experience, so that when we get to adulthood and now suddenly you're 18, you're off, the parental checkbook, so to speak, and you're out there. You're supposed to figure it out. You're supposed to have it all, figured out before you leave high school. But then you're supposed to go do the darn thing. We have no idea what that darn thing is. We were never given choices, never given permission. But now all of a sudden, I'm an adult and I'm the authoritarian. Like, what? It's scary.
Yeah. I think there's like another layer of like spiritual nuance there too, right? Kids are like untamed balls of pure energy, right? And they are crazy manifestors, because it's just all energy and it's pure emotion. But the thing is, when it's not controlled or tamed, it can be destructive, right? Kids with one tantrum have the ability to burn everything to the ground, and then you give them a lollipop and they're fine, right? And so part of what we're trying to tame at that age is like the destruction that can come with untamed energy. But what I like about that, and what I find beautiful about it, is that we are always at the core this ball of like untamed energy that is capable of pure destruction. And that can sound terrifying, but I find beauty in it, because being able to destroy something is how you know you're able to create something, right? It's just, it's
100%.
two sides of the same spectrum. And
And
so
I
when you
love,
come,
yeah, I love
yep,
that. And I really want to, I
yeah,
want to take you, having had a conversation before without it being recorded. I want to
yeah,
take you where I saw you there with what you
yeah,
just said. Okay.
yeah,
So there is that ball, and that
mm-hmm,
is within us.
mm,
And I'm asking them to share how to put this in such a way that doesn't make someone in the feminine energy,
mm,
it's destructo for the purposes
mm,
of rebirth.
mm-hmm,
The energy period, 100%, when it's allowed to do its thing, will destroy, so we
mm-hmm,
can recreate. So we
mm-hmm,
learn how to manifest. But when we speak it in a feminine way, in a feminine energy, it is for rebirth, it is for
mm-hmm,
nurture.
mm-hmm,
And, you know, one of your skills that I find absolutely wonderful is your ability to work, especially with women,
mm-hmm,
on how to take things like grief,
mm-hmm,
abuse,
mm-hmm,
and cycle that into like a feminine womb space
mm-hmm,
healing experience that then allows them not
mm-hmm,
just to tap into that personal power, but also that feminine power. I do believe them to be the same, but for
mm-hmm,
the purposes of taking our guests on that journey, I want to separate them for a minute. You know, I
mm-hmm,
think that through accessing, as a woman, through accessing that feminine power and that feminine energy, personal power is just like oh yeah, there you are, I
mm-hmm,
forgot. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm,
But talk to me about your experience or experiences with grief and with just that, and how it really allowed you to tap more fully into that feminine power.
Sure. So my personal experience with grief started kicking off honestly when I was about 15 years old. My family just started dropping like flies. And by the time I hit 20 years old, they had all passed away. And I'm talking like within 3 months of each other, you know, at its culmination, my sister was murdered. And then 3 months later, my mother literally dropped dead from a broken heart. And when I say literally, when she was found, you can tell that she had fell over and she just didn't get back up, right? It was just so much grief. And I carried that for years. I lived in a really dark place. There's about a 4 or 5 year period of my life that I just don't actually remember because it was a fog. And I was 20 years old and I was just out in the world by myself. I had nowhere to live, right? Because when my mother passed away, I lived with my mother. And obviously, I couldn't take on a mortgage at 20 years old, right? And the car that I was driving was my mom's car. I couldn't afford it because, you know, I was in college at the time. And so I couldn't keep the car. So it was just like I had nowhere to go. I had no job, no money. I had no answers for anything. And I remember I had a little bit of money in my savings account and I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna blow it. And then I ended up in London and I had actually lived over there for about 5 years. I think that's just kind of where spirit took me. And that's just probably where I needed to be in order to heal. But I was really angry. I was really angry, but I didn't know that I was angry because you're taught not to be angry or that it's not a good emotion that you're supposed to have. Right. And so I thought I was sad. Right. And then I would go, well, you know, I'm grieving, but I was angry and I was easily triggered. And then one day, and by one day, I want to say it was one day. So if that happened when I was 20, it must have been when I was 27. It took me 7 years to finally give myself permission. And I said, you know what? Fuck it. And I remember all of this weight that I had carried just completely lifted. And it was a combination of fuck it, fuck you, and fuck them. And so, because during that time I was sensitive. So if someone would say something to me that would hurt my feelings, it was a deeper level of hurt to my feelings. And I was holding all this resentment towards people. And then I had this year where, unfortunately for them, it's not my proudest year, but I recognized that I was really needed, where I was cussing everybody out. I was so highly reactive that I was cussing everybody out. If someone said something to me that I didn't think was fair or nice, my response without missing a beat was fuck you. And people were shocked, even my family, because I was always the lover. not the fighter. When they would get into arguments, I was always the peacekeeper. As a kid, I was the peacekeeper. I was like, I remember being 8 going, don't cry. Because a lot of us that are like this, that are empathic, have experienced as kids being
100%.
the one calming down the adults, right?
Yes.
I was that person. I still am, right? And so, but I had this moment where it was pure rage, and I was just like, I'm gonna let it out. And I was raging. I was burning everything on fire. I remember setting everything on fire for a year. And my life at that time too fell apart. I had lost everything because, you know, time had passed. So I did have a job, lost my job, had no money. I just was in a really dark place. And then I remember one day just going, well, like,
what do I do now?
Well, because I had burnt it down. And then because I had destroyed it, I had destroyed this life that didn't work for me. The only thing that was left for me to do was to rebuild it. And so when I rebuilt it, I rebuilt it in a way that I felt like worked for me. And that included like physical foundations, that included money, that included relationships, friendships, how I expected people to talk to me, treat me, how I expected people to show up. And if they weren't going to show up that way, then they just weren't allowed to be around me. I had rules at that point. And I had this, like, in order for me to do this, right? Boundaries. It had to work for me. And I had a conversation with spirit. And my conversation with spirit was like, this is my list. And if I don't get these things, I'm not working with you. You need me down here. And if I don't get
say that too?
Yes.
You say that too? Do you do this? So I'm going to hold my breath until this gets situated because you need me. I'm your mouthpiece. So
yes. Oh, I break up with spirit. Me and spirit have broken up several times. I regularly go on hiatus. This may sound controversial, but I have cursed them out quite a few times. Me and spirit have a very genuine relationship that's genuine to me. That's my dog. But I said, you need me. I need you too, but you need me.
Of course.
And if my needs aren't being met here, this isn't going to work. And they said to me, we always wanted to meet your needs, but you never were listening to us. And then I stopped and I was like, well, what were you trying to do?
I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly. Don't hold your breath, guys.
Right.
Thank God you can't do that. But it's so true. It's so true. And, you know, I love, you're right. In the spiritual community, and maybe even some that are listening, they might be like, ooh, those words. Ooh, that's a hard one. Ooh, that makes a bad taste in my mouth. But listen, you are a spirit having a human experience. Spirit in a body. And, you know, there's this beautiful mingling that you just cannot deny. And we can't snob our way through it in an attempt to avoid the hurt, the pain, the anger, right? Like we came here brave as a spirit. We said, not all spirits made the journey, by the way. Not all spirits said, yeah, I'll go down there and do that thing. You know, we came brave enough to try this on and see what it was like for the purposes of our own growth and expansion. And sometimes we're going to screw it up. Sometimes we're going to get it really wrong. And sometimes we are going to have energy present that we cannot figure out or understand how to maneuver and navigate. And that is very much what feels present at that time for you. How is it fair? How is it fair? How is it a thing to have this family that you loved so deeply totally ripped away one by one by one? Like, how is that a thing? How is that a reality? I mean, you turn on the news right now, friends, and we go, how is that a thing? How is that okay? How does that happen? And you know what? On my end, in my own space, it's like, how do other spirits in a body show up like that to do those things? But here's where the feminine energy comes in, because the feminine energy, and I want to refer to her, she, you know, it just feels so there. But like when she comes through, she's like non-judgment, neutrality. This is part of what you are meant to see and experience for the purposes of making different choices, showing up in different ways, being the counterpart to what you just saw in the world. Like that is my purpose, is to bring spirit into form, but the spirit that is of love, right, into form, that allows the healing when people come into contact with me. And I know your mission is very similar. When people come into contact with us, our mission is to just be present and have that be enough for them to trigger healing.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
sounds like a
No, it's
whoa, powerful
all
statement, but it's the
energy.
truth. Like I want my energy to really harness the most amount of pure spirit as possible so that just my presence in a room, which is a privilege,
I love
triggers
that. I love that.
my energy. It's a privilege to be, I tell
Oh,
my
I
husband
love
this all the
that.
time.
Oh God,
It's a,
I love that.
it's a privilege to be next to me. You know
Yes.
that, right?
Yes. I'm gonna
But
start
he's my
saying that.
husband, so he's just like, yeah, okay.
I love
But
that.
it's so true though. It is a privilege to be in my energy. It's a privilege to be in my space. And but because it offers you an opportunity to expand, own it, right? And I've had my healing journey, not much like yours, because I have not had that level of trauma or pain. But I honor yours as something that your soul chose to do. Perhaps so mine did not have to. And I honor that and respect that and give you so much love and respect because of it. You know, I think that on our paths, our souls, we show up and we say, I choose this, 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 and this, and others choose this, 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 and this. And you know what? Your soul chose that. So perhaps mine didn't. And I have to give you, I have to say thank you. You know what I mean? And I really think other people really need to show up and see that for themselves as well. Like when they say, oh, it could be so much worse, we don't want to look at it that way. We want to say I'm blessed. And it's because they showed up in that strength to experience that I am blessed. And everybody's journey is our own, you know?
You know, I appreciate that. I do. But what I will say is because of those experiences, it's helped me understand the spectrum of suffering.
I bet.
It's almost like looking at suffering from a bird's eye view, which is why it's so easy for me to connect to people. I can see and feel all aspects of it, whether or not someone is dealing with grief or not. I get it. And I feel like if I had alternative experiences, it's possible that I would have needed to have a lot of them in order
Girl,
to
we need to stop. No, wait a second. I need people to realize the level of spiritual maturity that spiritual maturity right there. That's huge.
Yeah.
You know, because you're so right. The thing that I think I connect as much deeply with you is the power you harness in your clairsentient. Like your clair around feeling is huge. You know, you can't be in your space and not have, you know, 6 things 6 times ahead. You know what I mean? Like you're so far ahead when someone steps in, and you're so right. You know, you're so right. It is definitely a journey that helped you get to where you are right now. But that's the level of spiritual maturity that a lot of people, I hope people get. I really do, because that's so true. You have to have your experiences, but you also have to be brave enough, because you're already capable and worthy. You have to be brave enough to flex your personal power, which is your choice, which is you giving yourself permission to step into the healing and not judge it. For you, you went on that rampage, you were burning bridges, probably bridges that weren't okay to come with you to the next phase. You had to do what you had to do.
Bridges I didn't want.
Exactly, that too.
And I remember specifically, someone actually said that to me. I remember she looked me dead in my face. She said, don't burn your bridges on your way out. And I remember saying to her, honey, you were never worth standing on my bridge. And I remember not wanting them to come.
Yeah.
Because they were part of this old life that hurt. People that I knew, and that there's so many friends that were good friends that I had then that are not in my life today, because when I see them, I associate them with the time of my life that was full of pain. And I love them and I appreciate everything that they had, everything that they taught me, but it was a phase of my life that I needed to shut the door on so I can move on.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, 100%. I can definitely speak to that, and having had that experience in my space as well, you know. But in order for us to show up and make the impact that we came here to make and stand in that purpose, sometimes those relationships, no matter how much we love, you know, we have to let those go. We have to let those go. So the rising of the mother, right? We spoke about this too before we hit record, and I was sharing my channeled information from spirit with regards to the event that's yet to really occur. And more than likely by the time our episode here appears, I think people are really going to start to understand this much. They're going to connect to it and say, oh yeah, I can totally see that. As we start shifting out of what we thought was an event, which was the COVID and all that, we're going to start really seeing that was just the pregame show. We've
Yes.
got the
You
Super
know
Bowl right
what?
around the corner.
This is, oh, just really quick, 1 second. People, I know I'm not supposed to do this for recording, but my dog, she has, for some reason, she woke up and she got really itchy, and I
It's
can
okay.
hear her in the audio. I'm
Oh, that's
taking her
okay.
collar off.
Okay, do your thing. Do your thing. Do your thing.
Come here, Duchess. Come here. She, poor thing. She's never this active at this time. But she's,
Oh, I love her name.
yes, she's a duchess. She's a duchess. Okay, we're good. Her collar is off. I call
All
her
right,
Duchess
cool.
because I'm the queen. There was only one throne and she wasn't allowed to sit on it. And so she
I
couldn't
love
have
my mic. I
princess.
won't drop it. I won't drop my mic. But I love that. That's so good. I'm so doing that. Next time I get a cat or a dog, I'm gonna name it Duchess because I'm the queen. Like that's so
Yes.
good.
Uh-huh. Okay, I'm ready.
Real stuff. Like this is real. This is
Yes.
life. This is life.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But as we were speaking about like the rising of the feminine power and the mother energy, right? Because you cannot have an event like we just went through and not have the need for nurturing to occur to really get us back to full health, literally. And it is this rising of the feminine energy as we were speaking about, but more so like the nurturing energy that, you know, we, as we go through traumas or as we work with others that have had traumas, as we do our own energetic healing work, we recognize the importance of the nurture energy, that particular energy I want to tune into, and how we can support people in the now with things that they can do to tap into that nurturing energy. Because I
So,
think it, go ahead. No, go ahead.
well, I think the importance is knowing that you have to nurture yourself and you have to reach a point, and this is tapping into your own personal power, where you say it stops right now. It stops right here. I'm now taking accountability for my own healing. Even if those people that I feel like have wronged me, even if they come back a year from now and they tell me that they're sorry, it stops here. My suffering stops here. And I'm starting the new process of healing right here. That nurturing part is simply giving yourself validation. You have to go back and go meet that child when you were 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old, whenever that first major trauma happened, when you started to disassociate from real self, you have to go back to that moment. And most people know what that moment is. Most people have a very vivid memory of that time when they were 7 or 8 and something happened. And then go find where you left that person. Where did you leave them? Did you leave them under the bed hiding because maybe somebody was trying to, I don't know, hit them or abuse them and they were scared? Did you leave them in a closet? Where did you disassociate and disconnect from little you? Where did you leave little you? And it's your job to go back to find little you and hug little you, and then say to your inner child, I'm so sorry. I didn't know then. I didn't know how to protect myself then. I didn't know how to speak up for myself then, but I know now, and I got your back now. And you have to reintegrate. The issue is people are healing and they go, it's not working. It's not, or it's taking a long time, not realizing that there are pieces of themselves that have been dropped along the way. And you have to reintegrate. That's part of the integration, right? Reintegrating with shadow, all those pieces of yourself that you were ashamed of, that you didn't like, that you were taught weren't good enough. Go find those pieces and put yourself back together, right? Go find that little self, go grab that little self's hand and bring them with you to the present because you left them in the past, right? And you can say to them, like, what happened wasn't okay. I'm validating you right now. I've waited all these years to be validated, but me, because I'm the most important, and not only validating myself, but I'm validating my inner child. I'm validating little you. You are valid for how you felt when you felt scared or sad or angry and someone told you to shut up. I'm telling you that you are valid and that your feelings are valid. That's nurturing yourself, validating yourself, and not waiting for somebody else to come into your life to validate you. You validate you, all of your feelings, your happiness, your sadness, your excitement, your trauma, all those things that happen to you, you say, yes, it happened. And little you, I'm sorry, it wasn't fair to you. And little you, I'm so sorry that at that time, I thought I couldn't do anything about it, but I'm here now and I'm doing something about it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And we're going to drop a word that a lot of people cringe with. Drop a word that people cringe at, right?
Drop it.
A lot of what you're speaking on is also giving yourself permission to forgive. It's
yourself.
Self-forgiveness. Exactly. It is self-forgiveness. You know, when we go back and we say, I'm sorry, I couldn't show up for you then, I didn't know, we're righting not a wrong, but more so writing a gap of energy that, you know, once we become more connected, as you say, integrated, I love that word, it's one of my favorite words. Once we embody this new awareness and this inner child, having had a healing experience, we expand our energy. And that forgiveness is something that, you know, people, again, it comes back to, I feel like I need to earn her forgiveness, or I feel like I need to do something to be forgiven, or I'm going to hold on to this thing I think I did wrong for the rest of my life, like a hot coal, and let it burn me because that's just what I'm supposed to do. And you're right. It's those shadow aspects of the martyr that, you know, that's what I'm supposed to do. BS. That's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to take those experiences that weren't in that moment ready to be healed or ready to be acknowledged. And once they become obviously present, or once you become aware of them, you go back then, because then right in that moment is the time for the healing. You weren't supposed to know it back then. You know that, but your inner child needs to have that awareness and understand that. Right. And so I love that. It is about self-forgiveness. And that brings me full circle back to personal power. Because as we practice self-forgiveness, as we go inward and we do reflect on those aspects of ourselves, we heal. And as we do, we expand our energy. When we expand our energy, we come into so much more personal power. You can't do that work and not be more confident. You can't do that work and not trust spirit. You cannot do that work and not show up and support yourself at a deeper level. You just can't do it. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. You doing that work is going to give you access to what it is you consciously or maybe even subconsciously are in need of right now, which is more of you to show up so that you can manifest at bigger levels. Why can't I manifest that relationship? Girl, because you got a lot of healing to get up to that person who already did his or her healing. Like they're waiting on you, because you don't come down from needing a relationship. And a relationship comes in to add value, but you've got to go find the value that they then add to. Like, you've got to go and do your work to come into those relationships. How come I can't get that, you know, 6-figure business going? Well, because you got to go look at not just the money story, but your worth connection to that money story. Block. Exactly. And start working on that. Like, you do your healing and you expand your energy, that personal power expands along with it, and you come into connection with so much more. It's a win all the way around. But it is a hard thing for some to do. And listen, from the nurturing energy that we just connected to, I get that. But I, as a mentor and as a coach, never want somebody to just stay there. I get you, but I'm not going to let you stay there. That's not what it's about. Right. So before I have to let you go, which I absolutely do not want to do, by the way, I feel like we can carry on a conversation for eons, and probably have friends in many over the lifetimes. But before I let you go, I have a question that is going to be a deep one. I want to ask it different in every episode so that it doesn't become something that listeners or viewers kind of know is kind of coming towards an end. So I want to ask the question in a different way. Okay. Your guides come in with a question. How do you, in your now moment, own the sovereignty of your soul?
I don't give a fuck. I don't care. That's it. Because I'm sovereign, I don't care. You have no power on me. I don't care. I don't care about your opinions. I don't care about your disappointments. I don't care about your unhealed trauma, which is shocking for people as a spiritual teacher. I don't care. It's not my job. I use a saying all the time, and it shocks everyone. I say, it's not my job to save any hoes. I'm not Captain Save a Hoe. I don't care. Right? I'm here to just be me. And if you are in that place in your journey where you're ready to be you, then I can teach you how to get there. But I don't care. When you start caring about all these other things in this reality that's made of illusion, you start to lose yourself. I understand that it's illusion. I
Yeah.
understand that it's a reality that has been created to teach me that things aren't necessarily always happening to me, that they're happening for me. And the faster I get the lesson, the faster I can move out of a place that feels uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
so instead of sitting there dwelling, whenever I'm having really low moments, I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to say?
Yes.
Right? That's
Yes.
how I keep myself together. That's how I don't lose myself. I can respect the sovereignty of my soul because I am you and you are me. We are the same, just looking at each other, right? I am of the cosmos. The cosmos is me. The cosmos is in me, as within, so without. It's all one, right?
Yeah.
So all of these little things to me are just distractions. People's opinions are just distractions. People's
sure.
thoughts and their feelings are just distractions. And it's all designed to try to put you outside of yourself, to break
Yes.
you up and
Yes.
and create more situations where you have to integrate. When you reintegrate yourself, there's nothing to care about because you remember what you are,
Yes. All along, what you've always been.
what you have always been, what you always will be. I do have one thought though that I want to leave you in terms of, because I know we're talking about this power thing, and I think this may help people listening maybe how to really sort of get it right.
Drop
If
it.
you
Drop it.
Yes, if you identify as a feminine, your power is a birthright. If you identify as a masculine, the way you access power is through integration and through balance of your masculine and feminine energies. And what I like to say to people, think about what the most powerful man in the world that you can think of, right? When you think of most powerful man in the world, doesn't matter who it is, think about that. Think about when you think of a powerful woman, who is that? Powerful men, right, have to be competitive. Something happened. There was a game that was played in order for them to attain power. Something had to be taken. Something had to be conquered. Something had to be taken away from another in order for them to get power. When you think of a powerful woman, the only thing she did was be respected. Power
Yes.
naturally flows to
Yes.
the feminine.
Yep.
People just respect powerful women. She
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily have to do anything. But when she
Right.
walks into a room, people look at her and they go, wow, there's just something about her. I don't know what it is. When powerful masculines walk into a room, a lot of the times what you sense is fear and intimidation because of how they attain the power, right? So if you identify as a feminine, it is your birthright to automatically have it. That's just what it is, right? If you identify with the masculine, in order to attain that power, if you're feeling like you're working so hard, but it's not getting you where you want to go, you have to reintegrate with the feminine.
Balance.
You have
Balance.
to. And fun
100%.
fact, for those of your listeners that like ETs, because I work with galactic collections and stuff like that. A lot of armies are commanded by feminine energies, not necessarily masculine energies, because the feminine energies are really good strategists, right? Everything, because that's the birthing energy, right? And then the masculine energy is really good doers, right? It's a really solid like soldier energy, right? And so it's always set in the feminine. And so if you can wrap your head around that when you're doing work on your energy and you're working on your feminine, then just know that that's where it is, instead of maybe thinking that it's masculine because we're taught that power is inherently a masculine energy or a masculine trait.
Yes, 100%.
So just a little tidbit I'm going to throw out there. Maybe that'll change someone's life.
Yes, for sure. And I think a lot of powerful women will credit the healing work they owned in their own right and in their own ways, in their own space, what they were able to really bring from within themselves out. I think that is a lot of where
that's how you come in touch with yourself, by healing, by coming to terms, by accepting what happened and who you were at that time versus who you are now.
100%. And when you embody and balance the masculine and feminine, then that you can bring the masculine energy in to say, okay, how do I then show up in the world and take action in this space? How do I create and, put it out into the world where it's going to make the most impact? And you know what? I'm going to say it, save the most lives, save the most spirits having a human experience right now. More pain, more suffering, more trauma. I love it.
Yeah.
Girl, I am so grateful for coming into connection with you.
and having all of our stars, boom, boom, ching, line
Yes,
up. So
I know.
Good have this exchange, and I know without doubt my I know we'll be chatting again really soon
Yes,
and doing this once more again. But for now,
absolutely.
you
It's
are
fun.
yes,
I'll be here whenever you would like to have me, whenever you want to talk about power. I
Ah,
love it. I
yeah.
love it.
So good. My friends are all going to be able to click the link below, right? Is that a YouTube thing? See the link below? I'm not
YouTube
I still
thing.
learn the YouTube lingo here.
It's the you have to do this. You have to do this. Ready? Put your
Okay.
fingers.
Got
The
it.
description box below.
That is where you're going to find all of Mystic Rainn
Yeah.
information, because you do not want to leave this space right now without following her on all her platforms and keeping in connection with her, because it's a blessing. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me on. I had such a good time.
Yes. Awesome. I'll talk to you soon.
Yes. Yes.